In our first story, the National Democratic Congress is demanding a probe into the alleged brutality of multimedia journalist Lateef Idrisu in the line of duty last week, while on location preparing to go live on air on protest at the CID headquarters in Accra. What was intended to be an enquiry on the technical name of the crowd control vehicle being used to control the protesters, some police personnel allegedly pounced on Lateef Idrisu with the butt of their guns, while others slapped him. The NDC executives who visited Lateef at his home here in Accra were led by Second Vice Chairperson Madame Betty Mould Idrisu, Kofi Adams, and legal team member Kojuga Adawudu. Here are highlights of the visit.
I want to assure you that the NDC will do everything in its power to mitigate and bring to the attention of the general public that such actions, such assaults, such brutalities, in the course of work especially, and in the course of lawful demonstration, should not be allowed to exist.
We went to the Senate Hospital at Osu, and the doctor there asked for the x-ray that I had taken at the private facility. So I had to get back to Lighthouse and pick the x-ray, send it back. It was examined. Then the doctor there said the bone at the back of my neck has twisted. So he gave me some medications and then prescribed that I wear the collar to protect the neck.
And this duty that has been imposed on them, media, and they go to assignment to bring and inform us of happenings, people who have sworn oath to protect us and protect our properties will unleash, their venom on this journalist. I think that it's far too long. It's been happening in our democracy with the pedestal or where we've gotten to Ghana as a democratic society. This thing should be a thing of the past. This case should be a test case that we will reform our institution. Our stakeholders will say never again.
Listening to Lateef's report now even is more shocking, because originally I thought it was just a one-off incident. But clearly it was well planned, calculated, and orchestrated. That to pull him further into the yard and use a yard that should have served as a protection for people rather to molest him is uncalled for. And I think that the IGP and the leadership of Ghana Police Service must investigate this matter and appropriately punish and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Now, municipal and district chief executives in the Upper West region have signed performance contracts in accordance with the implementation of the Local Government Service Performance Management System to improve service delivery in their respective jurisdictions. Acting Upper West Regional Minister Amidu Chiana Isahaku explained that the objective of the performance management contracts is to lead to improved living standards of the people and improved service delivery. Joy News' Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from WA.
4 municipal chief executives and their coordinating directors were joined by 7 district chief executives and their coordinating directors in the Upper West region to sign the performance contract. The signing of the contract is in accordance with the implementation of the Local Government Service Performance Management System to improve service delivery in metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies, and also ensure the success of certain specific projects at the assemblies. A number of key performance areas are identified based on the mandate of the councils. For each performance area, there are a number of deliverables or what is termed as key performance areas. Marks are allocated for the key indicators at the end of each contract period, which runs between January and December. Acting Upper West Regional Minister Amidu Chine Isaku, who is also the review officer, urged the staff of the Regional Coordinating Council and the assemblies to be actively involved in the absolute execution of the contracts.
The RCC will heighten its monitoring, coordinating, and backstopping functions. We wish to call on the MDCDs and their MDCEs to establish trust among themselves and effectively collaborate with the RCC so that together we'll improve on service delivery to the people of the Upper West region.
Amidu Chine Isaku explained that the objective of the performance management, be it performance contract or performance appraisal, is to lead to improved living standards of the people through an improved service delivery. He expressed concern over the indifferent attitude of some assemblies in the region in working to complete their medium-term development plans.
The recent monitoring of the RCC monitoring team indicates that some assemblies have not even reached 50% completion level after over a year of commencement. The indication is that in most cases, the leadership of the assemblies are reluctant to release resources. Such leadership, therefore, is treading on dangerous grounds because you are making your assemblies to operate without any focus.
Reporting for J News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Now, the chief of Kamina, Ochesium Osai Nyampong VI, is unhappy about how Volta River Authority has handled issues relating to resettlement agreed upon some 65 years ago. He says VRA has refused to hand over title deeds which will enable residents who were resettled to claim ownership of resettlement houses. The resettlement was done as part of the construction of the Akosombo Dam. Ochesium Nyampong was speaking at an Easter homecoming celebration at Kamina Presse in the Asujaman district.
Ochesium Osai Nyampong VI used the homecoming function to call on the Volta River Authority to release title deeds of the affected residents as soon as practicable.
Bui Dam Wanga Isutu Wangwahono Wanga to me.
Those that were displaced by the rainstorm at Bui Dam have gotten title deeds to their replacement houses and land. I therefore want to know why after 65 years we still don't have title deed to our land and properties.
After 65 years, we have no title deeds for our replacement houses.
The chief says the district, known for cassava production, and the district assembly must engage breweries which rely on the raw material to supply them.
So when Nimdia, America will say, Eastern region, you know, Asujaman district.
The highest cassava producing region in Ghana is the Eastern region, whilst Asujaman is the highest cassava producing district in the Eastern region. I am therefore appealing to the DCE to mobilize the youth to get more involved in the cassava business.
Meanwhile, Asujaman DCE Samuel Ejekum says the breweries are willing to buy cassava from the district.
We've already engaged the breweries and they tell us they are ready to buy the cassava and maize, provided it meets their required quality and quantity. Our problem is the quantity. They need at least 120 tons a month, you see, and they are very particular about their supply. If they choose you as a supplier and you default in the supply, it affects their production. So that is our challenge. So we are encouraging the youth now to enter into more of such production of maize and cassava, so that we can meet their required quantities. There is ready market for maize and cassava.
Kwame Yanke's report for Joy News.
You're still watching Joy News Prime. I'm Arba Kumsen, and still ahead, Ghana Cocoa Board reintroduces policy to cut down and replant infected cocoa trees in the eastern and western regions following massive spread of some diseases, reducing the yield.
Last year, the policy has changed again. This time around, we are going to cut for the farmers. We are going to give them free hybrid seedlings. We are going to give them free fertilizer, and then we are going to compensate them.
Details when we return. You're welcome back. The Ghana Cocoa Board says government has reintroduced a policy to cut down and replant infected trees in the eastern and western regions. A fortnight ago, Joy News reported from the Amenfi West district of the western region, where due to dwindling yields of cocoa trees, farmers are rather cutting down their trees for firewood. The farmers in that area have no understanding of what might be causing their dwindling yields and have resorted to look on as their trees waste away. Let's watch highlights of that report.
It has been cancelled. I have been farming over years, but my children have never enjoyed any scholarship.
Like a mat made from raffia palm knitted together, suspended on 4 wooden poles, is a structure which was used for drying cocoa. But she tells me, since last year, it has lost its value. Now it is used as a drying line. She points in a distance, a feeble attempt to show me her cocoa farm. She will not take me there. Nestled on a side of a hill in a distance, she tells me all her cocoa trees now serve as firewood. In his working chair and busily sharpening his cutlass is Nana Wusu, a well-known cocoa farmer. He confirms Madame Ama Bedu's story.
It's a pity to go to your farm to see your matured cocoa trees drying up. It is even worse when it comes to the young ones. You touch them and they break. The situation is getting bad. If I'm to tell you the number of bags I harvested this year, it's nothing to write home about. I used to harvest about 70 bags previously. This year, you will not believe that I could get only 8.4 bags. So I'm in a very tight corner. One cannot tell the cause as to whether it is the type of fertilizer we are applying. We have been trying to know why this situation, but nothing fruitful has come out. My hamlet is just a stone throw, and if you go there right now, it's a sorrowful sight. I just don't know what to do.
But the Executive Director of the Cocoa Health and Extension Division of Cocoa Board, Reverend Emmanuel Clotte, says that what the people in the Amenfi West District are experiencing is not peculiar. He revealed more than 17% of cocoa trees across the country are deceased, with the eastern and western regions alone having about 80% of that number. Reverend Clotte reveals government has reintroduced a policy to cut and replant deceased trees and appropriately compensate the farmers. He was speaking at the Ghana Food Systems Conference in Accra.
But this is what we refer to as a cocoa swollen shoot virus disease. It's a viral disease. Once the cocoa is infected, the only remedy is to cut and replant. Other than that, the yield will be reducing until the tree finally dies. You know, Cocoa Board has a policy which last 4 years, there was a little change to it. Normally, we cut the cocoa for the farmer, we compensate the farmer, and then we replant for the farmer. For we give the farmers free hybrid seedlings. The hybrid seedlings, 2-3 years, they start bearing, and they are also disease tolerant. You know, but 4 years ago, what happened was that there was a change in policy, and farmers were asked to do their own treatment. That they were asked to do their own cutting out, and then we give them the free seedlings and they replant. But this has been changed last year. Last year, the policy has changed again. This time around, we are going to cut for the farmers. We are going to give them free hybrid seedlings. We are going to give them free fertilizer. And then we are going to compensate them for the cocoa they have lost and compensate also the landowners. So this is as a result of the cocoa swollen shoot viral disease. That's the reason why the yield was reducing. And nationwide, we have 17% of our cocoa diseased. 17% diseased. And so we are rolling out the project to rehabilitate all these farms.
All right. This farm is in the western region. So
yes, western region and eastern region have 80% of the disease farms. Wow. It started in the eastern region, and then now the concentration is in the western region.
The Kotoka International Airport Command of the Ghana Immigration Service says it has tightened security checks at the airport to address smuggling and child trafficking. The service believes the collaboration with other security agencies across the country can help curb the illegal activities. The commander of the Immigration Service, Kotoka International Airport, spoke to Joy News after a walk and donation to the Christ Faith Foster Home.
The group, as part of the Easter celebration, supported the Christ's Faith Foster Home with food items and other assorted items.
I'm sure will last for the next 6 months. And when it gets exhausted, I'm sure we'll be here to replenish. So the items we have are to the tune of 6,000 Ghana cedis.
The gesture is part of a grand plan by the service to adopt a home and offer assistance to them. DCOI Eric Afari is commander of the Immigration Service at the Kotoka International Airport Command.
It's important that the sacrifice that our Lord Jesus Christ exemplified be replicated. And so we decided to adopt this home and then be able to bring some joy into them. So we are going to do a charity donation to this foster home today.
He further revealed the service has tightened security at the airport to deal with issues of smuggling and human trafficking.
We have very stringent rules and regulations at the airport when it comes to passenger clearance. And I'm sure that having realized that it's difficult to be able to circumvent the process, they have decided to divert their route mainly to the land frontiers. We all know the situation of the land frontiers. So Kotoka has a very stringent security check and screening that makes it very difficult for anybody to traffic anybody.
Kofi Eduboahin is director of the Christ Faith Foster Home.
And when they have needs, they come here directly and talk to us. Then we also inform the social welfare about it. And then the social welfare will give us a clearance as to whether the children should be accepted or not. So it comes from the public. Sometimes the information comes from the social welfare or wherever. But at the end of the day, social welfare has to be told that these children are coming because they have this and that need and they ought to be helped.
Now, resources allocated to prison authorities by central government are insufficient to run the affairs of these prisons. With 1 cedi 80 pesos daily allocation, prison authorities are expected to provide 3 square meals for inmates. The Wa Central Prison, just like other facilities, depends on the benevolence of NGOs and other donors. One of such organizations is the Wa Catholic Diocese Women's Association, which donated assorted food items worth 5,000 Ghana cedis as part of the Easter celebrations. Rafiq Salam has more.
The Wa Prison in the next couple of years will be celebrating its centenary. It was constructed to house less than 100 inmates, but today it is a home for over 250 persons. All the 10 cells in this prison, including the storeroom, converted into a cell, are always full to the brim. Inmates are packed like sardines and hardly can one get a space to walk. Most of the inmates are not registered with the National Health Insurance Scheme, and the situation has been compounded by the failure of authorities to supply them with first aid drugs for the past few years. Prison officers are forced to dip into their own pocket and buy drugs for inmates here. Concerned about the plight of the inmates, members of the Wa Catholic Diocese Women Association on Easter Monday donated assorted food items to the Wa prison worth 5,000 Ghana cedis. Station welfare officer in charge of reception at the Wa prison, ASP Ben Aderi, thanked the association for the kind gesture, adding that it will go a long way to ease some challenges they are grappling with.
These things are going to complement to the little that we have been giving them. In fact, we all know that the resources are not enough. So that is the challenge. But, you know, it is a national cake. And then, you know, that is what is voted for the prisoners. So definitely, of course, we are facing challenges on that. And I believe that this one is going to augment the food that we provide them.
For the news, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Now, for more than 5 years, I beg your pardon, small-scale fishermen will be required to observe the close season for fishing this August. The introduction of that is coming up in business. I'm Arbor Kumsin, and you're still watching Joy News Prime.
Welcome back to Joy News Prime, and it's business time now. And the full implementation of a tax stamp policy may be rocked by some challenges. This is because some persons engaged by Joy Business say they are still not aware of the tax policy. A visit to some major shopping outlets in the metropolis showed that some of them are yet to fully comply with their fixing stamps to all their products. Charles Aite has been finding out.
Months after the partial implementation of the tax stamp policy, compliance continues to remain very low as many consumers' beverages are yet to come to terms with their fixed tax stamps on all selected products. Since the enforcement of the tax stamp policy on the 1st of March, the level of compliance has been very low based on our observation.
Drink that has been bottled nicely. You can see the tax stamp just embossed on the very cork of the wine bottle. So these and many more, although most of these drinks do not have the tax stamps, we have just samples of them having the tax stamps on them. This one, for instance, doesn't have the tax stamp on it, and so there's so many other beverages here, not just at this very mall, but several other malls. We've also been questioning and asking shoppers whether or not they know what this tax stamp is all about, and the reactions are just very much interesting.
Checks by Joy Business at the various shopping malls in Accra show that even though some beverages and selected products have tax stamps affixed on them, patrons of these products just do not know such a policy is indeed in place.
Actually, this is my first time of even hearing it. Yeah, so I'm yet to find out, or from now on, when I buy a beverage or a soft drink or something, yeah, I will find out if there is a tax stamp on it. Yeah.
So you've been to the mall. Have you seen any of these beverages with tax stamps on them?
No, I've not seen any. Yes, I've not seen any. I checked few, but I don't know whether it will be on the other beverages or not.
I don't see any tax stamp on it.
And do you know what a tax stamp is?
I don't really have an idea.
But when you visited the mall, did you see any stamps on any of the beverages?
No, I didn't.
I've heard, but I haven't seen it.
But do you know what the tax stamp is about?
I've heard they are talking about that, but I haven't really seen it.
The policy has been met with stiff opposition from business associations like the Food and Beverage Association, which makes the point that the policy is not only impacting negatively on businesses, but also collapsing so many local manufacturing firms. Well, for many, as the Ghana Revenue Authority plans to fully enforce the policy with possible prosecution, it looks like a lot of firms may be caught up in this trap.
Away from that, government says recent positive remarks about the country by rating agencies show that it is on track with policies aimed at stabilizing the country's economy. Two rating agencies, the Standard & Poor's and Moody's, have all affirmed Ghana's ratings at B, but with a positive outlook. Deputy Minister of Information Kojo Nkrumah tells Joy Business the development could impact positively on Ghana's cost of borrowing.
The need to rebase the economy after a certain period is one that has always been explained to us. But even if we're using current numbers, we are hoping or we are expecting that by our strategy, we'll be able to, in the medium term, bring it down to about 65% thereabout.
Standard & Poor's, the worry for many people is about how investors will take some of these debt numbers. Standard & Poor's quickly has come in. They are optimistic about the growth, the outlook for the economy. There's no need to worry about these numbers because they are optimistic about what government is doing. Are you that excited by these comments? Because the fear was that they would hit you on these numbers and that could impact us negatively.
Standard & Poor's has affirmed what we have believed and what we have argued, that actually, if you look at how our macro is functioning, if you look at how our numbers are performing, the outlook for the Ghanaian economy is positive. And so they are encouraging global investors that, listen, we see that the Ghanaian economy is attaining stability and the outlook is positive. So you are well grounded to invest in their capital markets. It's a good thing. What we need to do is at least ensure that that doesn't deteriorate.
Now, small-scale fishermen will be required to observe the closed season for fishing this August. The introduction of a closed season for fishing is part of efforts by the ministry to allow sea replenish its stock. Speaking to Joy Business, the Deputy Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture, Francis Kingsley Atukujo, said besides industrial trawlers, the ministry will be including artisanal fishermen for the initiative to be more efficient.
The implementation of the closed season is part of the Ghana Fisheries Management Plan to help reduce excessive pressure and overexploitation of fish stock. Owners, operators and masters of industrial trawlers were directed to comply with the declared closed seasons. But speaking to Joy Business, the Deputy Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture indicated the next closed season will include small-scale fishermen.
So if we take one fish, potentially are taking 7 million fish out of the sea. So when we allow these people to recover, during the peak season, when they become very fertile, a lot of them are getting fertile, and we can have the close season, we can have a lot of them giving out the seed and replenishing the seed quickly. So we are looking at implementing a close season in August. And what we also want to, what we have been advised to do, that is to cut across all the sectors, both that is now the semi-industrial and then the industrial will all experience this close season. And it is something that when the ministry announces, we want everybody to come on board, everybody to support us, because we need to take drastic actions, calls for drastic measures. We need to take drastic measures to recover our fisheries.
The first closed season for fishing was observed earlier this year in the months of January and February.
Now let's do something related to Easter, because managers of some recreational facilities in the metropolis say sales have been good during the festivities. John Fafali has been to town and has come through with the following report.
According to the managers, revenue secured was far more than what they got during last year's celebrations, but they're expecting numbers to increase during the night. Jones Nikwe is one of the managers of Labuma Beach Resort and explains.
Normally about 100 to 200 customers have been visiting the shop, but today almost 1,000 are in now. We are almost getting to 3,000 Ghana cedis.
However, for some holiday revelers, they will not be spending that much this year because things at the resort have just become expensive.
I bring almost 150 cedis, but I came here, things are changed, things are too hard. Even one crop here, almost 67 cedis. But last 2 years I come here, I spent only 70 Ghana per year.
It's very expensive. I'm a stranger here, then it will be expensive for me.
Traders at the resort, on the other hand, say they are really cashing in on the occasion.
Oh, business is good and business is fine. Everything is going well. Let's say till morning to this time, like let's say 65 cedis or so.
John Fafali Kofi's report for Joy Business.
Now, trading and business activities along the Eastern Corridor Road have been affected badly. This is due to delays in completing the $290 million project. The road stretches from parts of Accra through the Eastern, Volta, Northern and Upper East regions. Karen Dodu has more.
The 965-kilometer road was intended to ensure easy flow of goods and services from the southern to the northern part of the country. However, checks by Joy Business show that the road is yet to be completed as scheduled. Traders along the road are lamenting over how the poor state of the road is affecting their businesses. Construction is said to have been abandoned by contractors due to delays in payments. Residents of Golokwati, a village along the road, have maintained that the bad road limits farmers and other businesses that ply their trade in those areas.
I produce and sell palm oil. Selling my palm oil in places like Beve, Hohoi, Logba, and Bando gives me more income. But because of the bad road, I'm unable to make frequent trips to these places.
Another businesswoman called on government to come to their aid and complete the road.
We cannot have this road remaining like this forever. You know, beyond here is Hohwe, beyond here is Jasika and Kejebi. Food production areas. The amount of yam you see in this area, you get in this area and beyond. And for it to be abandoned like this is honestly very sad.
The $290 million road, which began construction in 2011, was expected to be completed in 2017. Reporting for Joy Business, Karen Dodo.
That's it for business. I am Komla Dumbat. Araba Kumsin returns after this with more news.
You're welcome back. Now, health authorities in the Central Region have expressed worry about the increasing trend of cervical cancer there. According to them, about 2,000 women die from cancer every year, hence the need for more attention in that sector. There's more in the following report by Alfred Amo.
Cervical cancer is an abnormal growth of cells which spread to other parts of the body. It's a tumor of the lowermost part of the womb that can be prevented by pap smear screening and the HPV vaccine. In the Esikuma or Dobeng Brakwat district, health officials say there's an increasing trend of the disease. Here is the medical superintendent of Our Lady of Grace Hospital in Breman, Esikuma, Dr. Francis Bentil, who is concerned the trend may be nationwide. According to him, 3,000 women test positive to cervical cancer annually, while 2,000 out of the number die prematurely by the disease. He was speaking at the launch of the Cervical Cancer Screening Center at the hospital meant to check the rising trend of the disease in the Breman Esikuma district.
Cervical cancer is the leading cause of cancer deaths among women in Ghana and West Africa. It's one of the leading ones in the whole world. The Ghana statistics, we don't really have a firm grip on it, but the rough estimate is that about 3,000 cases are diagnosed annually. Hence, the early detection and screening of our mothers is paramount in the fighting of this sickness.
Director of the newly launched Cervical Cancer Center, Dr. Benedict Owusu-Boateng says women who break their virginity at the age of 16 and below are more susceptible to the infection.
Starting sex early, when you are less than 16 years and you start having sexual contact, is one of the predisposing risk factors that can later on lead to you developing this condition.
Early treatment is usually a lifesaver. The Central Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Alexis Nambe-Foba, is urging women to pay attention to their bodies and go for regular checks.
We are talking to them. Any opportunity we get, we advise them. And we always say knowledge, skills, and competencies themselves alone are not enough. We must add the right attitude and a passion to the work we do.
Now, for more than 5 years, a mother lived in a state of denial after doctors told her that her second child had autism. Olivia Bafwewa describes that day as one of the darkest days in her life. But with support from family, that daughter, Mame Bema Bafwewa, is 15 years now and gifted. Joy News' Beryl Ernestina Richter visited Mame Bema at the Hope Setters Autism Center in Tema, and as far this report.
autism spectrum disorders may significantly limit the capacity of an individual to conduct daily activities and participate in society. It may often also negatively influence the person's educational and social attainments as well as employment opportunities. But 15-year-old Mami Bema is changing the narrative about children with autism. She is a model and a global icon for the Autism Aid app. Mami Bema's mother, Olivia Bafoewa, says the family identified her daughter's skills at an early age and gave her the necessary support.
As early as possible, we realized she was a special child. We were just planning and hoping that she will be independent. And now, by God's grace, I think she has found it. She can photo model, she can bead, and she does hair. She hasn't got the fine motor skills, but she does it to the best of her ability.
Children with autism struggle to socialize, but Olivia says enrolling her daughter at a mainstream school impacted her development positively.
She was around 4 when she started telling her parents. There was a lot of improvement in the social behavior and speech.
Olivia recounts the journey has not been easy, confessing she lived in a state of denial for more than 5 years.
I was like, it affects one in so many children. Why did it pick Bema? Why did it pick me?
Unlike Mami Bema, Ellis Abadamtewa Akwa is 12 years and has been getting formal education at the Epicenter Special School in Gbawi. Ellis is also autistic. Ellis's teacher says she has potentials. Meanwhile, head of Department of Child Health at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Professor Ebenezer Bedu, is urging parents to look out for some early signs of the condition.
Children who have an autistic spectrum, the cuddling, for instance, may be difficult. You may realize your child does not like cuddling, for instance. That's simple, basic. You may notice that child doesn't really enjoy it. Though, from my experience, mothers have always said their children loved cuddles. But another common and almost universal problem is lack of pointing. From my experience, when I've asked mothers whether your child points, they always say no.
For age 2?
Yes. So normally, around 12, 13 months, your child should indicate in a way or point to something. Then around 18 months, another type of pointing occurs, where the child points to something of interest, but also gets mother's attention. That we call proto-declarative pointing.
He also hopes more people will be trained in skilled and speech therapy to assist autistic children.
Whether we like it or not, we have a number of children who have needs. We need to plan. We need to double and triple skilled speech therapists, especially those who deal with autistic spectrum disorders.
Founder of Hope Setters Autism Center, Baba Angel, wants a partnership with the government to give these children with special needs the best education and care they can get. World Autism Awareness Day was designated by the United Nations in 2007 in an effort to end stigmatization and discrimination against those with autism. This year's celebration is on the theme Empowering Women and Girls with Autism. Mami Bema and her mother's story depicts the strength in support and how that can change the narrative. For Joy News, Beryl Ernestina Richter.